Patanjali, somewhere 2000 years or 2500 years back, brought this philosophy, brought this darshan in the form of aphorisms, which is written everything in a short form, let us say. Nothing is long form, but in a short form, choosing the words very aptly, perhaps asking us that we have to think about each word and reflect on it and find out the depth of the darshan or depth of the philosophy. There are 196 sutras, the aphorisms, divided into 4 chapters called 4 padas, and the whole process of self-realization, right from the beginning of discipline to the end of discipline, where one is completely finds the freedom of discipline, he has explained. What we call as Ashtanga Yoga, or the main 8 aspects of yoga, is placed exactly in the middle of the book. So that when we peep in into these 8 aspects, we are able to see, we are able to perceive and penetrate deeper into ourselves. These 8 aspects in the middle of the book, you find stated in a gross form in order to give some understanding to the people who begin to look into the mirror of yoga. But at the same time, all these 8 aspects you find flowing in all the 4 chapters from grossest level to the subtlest level. And that makes us, or forces us to look into these 8 aspects. Once if this foundation is ready in us to know what these 8 aspects are, it becomes clear for us from where to start, how to pick up, and where to go. Ashta is 8, and Anga means limbs, aspects. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi. These are the 8 aspects. And each aspect is elaborated, and to some extent you find they are endlessly flowing in the 196 sutras, because each aspect he sees how it will terminate towards the self-realization. So he is not allowing us anywhere to lose this thread, because each aspect will have its own depth as you begin to penetrate. Though roughly we can just say Yama has to deal with the ethical aspect of human being, reflecting on the emotional aspect, what we call as morality. Niyama which explains in order to have this moral, ethical balance in us, we need to have some discipline, which called as niyama. In other words, if you have to follow the yama, it says that you have to bind yourself in niyama. That's the second one. The third aspect, which is called asana, which normally translated as postures, several postures, but asana indicating that you have to be in each posture well settled, well established, so you are taken from your outer body to the inner being. To get established is called asana. Pranayama, in that state of establishment where we are quiet, silent, we are within ourselves, to observe in that state the flow of our energy within, the flow of vital energy within, which we call as pranic energy, distributing that energy evenly everywhere. That is called pranayama. From pranayama, next aspect he unfolds called pratyahara. So he builds up in such a way that when you have a good foundation as far as ethical and moral practice is concerned, you find yourself well established in the posture where the pranic energy flows evenly, substantially everywhere, nourishing your inner being, leading towards pratyahara, where you find how gradually you are getting a kind of control over yourself. In simple words, it's called control over senses of perception. But if the deep meaning is that the outgoing mind which wants to jump out is brought inward through this balanced pranic energy, and that's called pratyahara. The mind gets withdrawn. It begins to go inward. From there, he leads us towards dharana. The mind which has been withdrawn, how to discipline it, where to take it, where to use its strong potency that it has got, which way one will direct. So he leads us towards dharana, called concentration, bringing that attention, focusing it on the required areas, required part, so your being opens to you more. From there he leads towards dhyana, that when you have brought this mind under control, focused, from that focused point, what it is reflecting further is if light is focused on something, you see that object, and that object reveals you something. If it is dark, and as you see Lord Patanjali here, and if the light or torch is thrown on it, you begin to see that, oh, there is a statue, there is an idol, and this idol has to reflect something, and that happens with dhyana, which often we call as meditation. After reflecting on that, when there is not left any tinge of doubt, when there is a clarity of that picture, when everything has become clear, the intelligence which doesn't waver at that time, we lead towards Samadhi, where the intelligence remains well established. There remains nothing to doubt about. Everything becomes clear. And that is how we reach to that state of Samadhi.